I'm not real worried about that. You know, I will tell you this, out of all the board members that I deal with, and we have 20 something, which is in a tremendously large board. If anybody has ever been on a nonprofit and have had to work with board of directors, we have a large board. And so when I say the comment that I'm about to talk to one of my favorite board members, you will probably hear that on every one of the podcasts I do when there's a board member, but I will tell you that, one, this is my first podcast that I'm recording right now. And in addition to that, this is truly one of my favorite board members.
I like that. I like that. You're just being open and honest.
Yeah. Hey, look, man, you know, at the end of the day, I have to have an opening, and I think that's going to be my opening, but I truly am I'm here with you. And you know, Convoso, I've been over to your office many times in different capacities, but it's my natural stopping point when I go to LA. And when I go to this office, I really enjoy the environment. I enjoy the culture. I love walking into this place. And so knowing now that nobody's in that place, or at least it's not like it was when I have gone in there many times, I'm bummed. I'm upset. And so
I know it's a little spooky. I mean, I had to go there the other day just to pick something up, you know, get something from the office, and it was like empty, completely empty.
Any ghost in there?
You know, I looked.
Did you? Somebody you've let go before in the past, you know?
You never know what you find in an empty office, you know, on a random day when nobody's there.
That's the time you're going to find it, trust me. But yeah, I mean, I haven't been over there, but I can only imagine when you walk into that office, knowing the electricity that's always there. Like, I mean, I walk in there, typically that day is already started, and you know, there's a buzz when you walk in, and you've got a nice culture, a nice vibe when you walk in. You've done it well, you know, the little area where the kitchen is and all of that. I really enjoy that, and I can only imagine when you walk in, you know, especially as the architect who put that thing together. I mean, obviously many people were involved with it, but you know, it starts somewhere, and the person who's okayed those checks or okayed those decisions to build it out the certain way, when you walk in, I mean, I can only imagine it's got to be heartbreaking, almost scary.
Yeah, I mean, you know, working from home, it's definitely, to some extent, it can feel good, but I would say there's nothing like going to the office and having that routine. We did make it feel like kind of homey and comfortable in a sense, but at the same time, it is going to the office, right? You do have a desk, you have people around you. There's a certain vibe and energy that's going on. And when you're at home, no matter what you have when it comes to technology, Zoom, chats, nothing replaces that face-to-face interaction and that energy that you see. So for me personally, like, I don't mind working from home, but it's not really what I feel like gives me that energy and spark that and the purpose of what we're doing at Convoso. It's really being there with the people, being under one roof. And it's like a family, right? Like when you go to home and you have a family, you go home to your family. Well, now I'm home, you know, at home, and my extended family, in a sense, the way I look at it, is not there. So it's different, and we're getting adjusted. And I mean, you know, the day will come, of course, when things will go back to normal, but it's definitely an adjustment, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, coming in there as a guest, one, I've always been treated as an extension of your family there. I mean, it is something where I feel really good walking in this place. I get really excited when I get to come over there. The one important question I've got to ask you now that you work from home, did you get a dog yet? No, I got it. No.
Although I've been told multiple times, if there's ever a good time to get a dog, it is right now.
You gotta do something. When it's time, and I think you'll do it. You know, you said you walked in there. What have you had to do? I'll back up a little bit. We talked about this right before we started recording about how it's one of those things that you're not that comfortable with not coming in and being able to see things, right? I know you like that. You're a visual person. You walk in, you see that person at their desk, you see that person on the phone, you see that person coding something, you see them talking to customers, you know the energy, you see a meeting over there. What's that? What is that like for you now? Obviously with Zoom being able to see certain things, but it's not the same, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to do things that will replicate that as much as possible. But I mean, we have daily check-ins where we, for a quick 5-10 minutes, get on Zoom, talk to each other, figure out what the goals are for that day. We'll have a huddle on Tuesdays and Thursdays like we do in the office where everybody gets on Zoom so we all see each other. We do that. And then we've done some like happy hours on Fridays, right?
Yeah.
Everybody just gets a drink. Those have been really fun. And so other than that, it's like a lot of, like everyone else is saying, right? Over communicate, really just communicate as much as possible. If you're gone, and you're on a break, just let us know in Slack or in chat, just that you're not there. So we know that, somebody else will step in. So it's been okay so far. You know what I mean? Like it's been a few weeks now, but again, I feel like that over time, the energy just for me personally, I like being around people. I love being around people. I love connecting with people. That's really what it is about me, for me, more than anything else. I think that's why I want to see people. It gives me energy, and I feed off of people's energy that way. It keeps me going.
I've talked to a lot of people, and I think that's one of the things that, especially humans, but American humans in general, we're really tight-knit social people. We have to have that interaction, and we're not getting it. So I think that, of course, Zoom is doing it. I'm wondering, do you, going back to the fact that I believe that you're one that likes to see people in action and know that they're doing things, have you installed any kind of technology to let you know that ex-employees plugged in, like, or hey, look, I've seen you've been off for 2 hours or whatever?
No, I mean, I think at the end of the day, there's a certain level of trust that we do have to, have with our people. At the end of the day, there's always more and more technology you can implement that will track everything. I mean, there's tools that we're seeing call centers implement where it scans your face and it sees if you're there or not. But we got to the point where we said, you know what, there's a certain expectation that everybody has in terms of what they need to accomplish. It's certainly not perfect by any means. We're a growing company, so there's some processes that are missing. But ultimately, you can't kind of not do your part without it being noticeable, right? Like, we have to service our customers. We got to work with them very closely and really get them up to speed with our product. But not only that, make sure they're successful on a regular basis. And in order for that to happen, whether it's sales, customer success, tech support, engineers, that's the majority of the company has to be in touch with our customers. And that can't happen if you're not doing it, in front of your computer, ultimately.
I remember the last time I was in your office, you guys were having your group huddle, the employee huddle. And what really struck me, I really appreciated that, because since I work alone most of the time, I don't get to have that interaction, and I enjoyed that. But what I really found most amazing was there was a television in the back that had another team that was actually broadcasting. That team was from Philippines, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, the Philippines.
And it was the middle of our evening on our day. I couldn't really tell what the time was for them. I mean, obviously we're all hyper focused on things going on in the United States and state to state, but you have a multinational team that you work with. I don't know what it's like in the Philippines. Do you have to pay attention to that and be aware of that? What's that been like?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I would say it's been very similar in the sense that they had to be quarantined, and so everybody had to go and work from home as well. But there, more so than here, the challenge is really with the quality of the internet connection, right? It's not as good as it is here. And so we were a little bit proactive around it. We kind of saw it coming. And so just as we transitioned to working from home, I want to say a week and a half before was mandated here in California, we let them know to do the same exact thing over there. And so luckily there was enough time for them to get their station set up at home. and it's been, knock on wood, really good. Everything has been working smoothly. It's pretty interesting how about 40, 45 people over the course of a couple of days, we just all switched. And we probably couldn't have done it if it wasn't for our head of operations, Meg. You know, you've met her obviously bunch of times, and she was very proactive around it. Listen, we got to do this. Let's get ahead of this because it's coming. And because of that, we were really set up in a very smooth way. I mean, from one day to the next, we made the switch and everybody was online. It was amazing.
So that tenacity Meg has just paid off in big ways, right? That's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, because we're also busy, right, doing a lot of different things, and you're not always paying attention to everything. But you got to have that kind of combination of people that can see things from different perspectives.
Very amazing, because I mean, obviously we all have personal things we're going through at the same time. So to be able to think 10 steps ahead while still dealing with your personal life, I think that's amazing and a testament to how, you know, strong this industry is. I've witnessed this with many players in the space, and I've been just amazed at how agile people have been during these times. And
what about you? What about you? How have you been doing? I mean, you travel a lot, right? You get out in terms of seeing the members on the board and whatnot. But how are you dealing with all of it?
I am struggling. I talked to somebody the other day. I had 26. The council had 26 cities or shows that we were going to attend this year, and it was going to be a year that we definitely were going to go out and just blaze it from just being in front of as many people, different groups as possible. And so it's been amazing. The fact that I've waited and waited, like I didn't. So for example, we knew that the Jornaya conference was going to be canceled in Philadelphia. I still have that flight scheduled. It's in May, but I don't want to let it go, because to me, when I say it's canceled, it's just one more reality or reminder of reality that it's not the year that I had proactively planned. I started my planning back in October, I think, of last year, or November of last year, and got the software in place to where I could actually put every city and everything we were going to do in every city, and I shared that with people. And it's been a bummer to go through that platform and check off everyone that I had committed to going to, and now, you know, obviously has been postponed or canceled all entirely. And it's definitely been sobering. As you know, I have enjoyed those. On the flip side, for the council, and I'm glad that you're allowing me to talk about the council when it's your time, but on the flip side, we've started those weekly webinar series, and it's been amazing to see all of these companies come together that were our members that we were struggling to get any extra time from. And now I have a content calendar full of people saying, hey, look, I'm ready to do this. That's been really exciting for me. And so managing that, producing a webinar once a week has been very challenging. We've brought on some people to help us with the back end so that we can start automating some of those. What's amazing is we lowered our silver price down to $500 or $41, just a little $41 a month, and we've seen an explosion of new members, which has been incredible, right? But that also has exposed a lot of the things that I've had to worry about on the back end, and just, you know, seeing this network that we've built over the years, you know, including Convoso, come together on the back end. You at 5:30 in the evening taking your time out to do this podcast for us. It's been amazing to see people come together and raise their hand and say, I'm willing to do something. I'm hoping that the momentum that we create during these times that we are all different and stressed about the things that we want to get back to, I'm hoping that when we do get that opportunity to go back, some of the things that we've built on the back end and some of these things that people have volunteered for, I'm really hoping that they stick around and we start seeing, you know, a regular routine. That's been amazing to me. So we'll see.
Well, you know what, everything, I mean, as tough as things are, I'd like to think of everything does happen for a reason. And the way to look at it is we're going through a moment of darkness, but you know, through that darkness, the light will be revealed. And I feel like that's really what should help us all get through all of this, because there will be light. And when that light shines, I think things will be good in many different ways. Our lives will have changed forever, but in a way that we may have never imagined. And I truly believe that. It's just the day that comes.
I love your optimism. I know you're too young to remember this movie Poltergeist, but they were warning the person not to go into the light. So you're encouraging us to go into the light. So I'm really excited about that. But let's move on a little bit and talk about. We've talked about, Convoso as a company. We've talked about your employees. Before I move on to that, has there been anything? I talked to AC with Drips, and he's very proud of an executive chef that he had on staff, which was a benefit to his employees. As I've traveled over to your place, I've actually benefited from one of your benefits, which was the massage, right? I happened to be over there on a day that you were giving a massage. Obviously, you can't send that masseuse over to each individual company. I know that that's a bummer, but have you thought of ways, the happy hour maybe being one of those that you do?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to do a few things. One is that, but other than that, we're doing this Monday and Wednesday meditation. Kind of anybody who wants to get on Zoom. We actually just did that yesterday, so that was interesting. Anybody can go in there.
Is it a Zoom conference with no talking?
There's somebody actually guiding us. There's a coach.
Unless you get Zoom bombed. If you get Zoom bombed, that kind of ruins the mood. But but that brings a whole nother value.
Yeah. So we've done that. And then on Fridays, we would have our lunches, right? Friday lunches where we all get together. And
I've been there.
Essentially, instead of that, we're just getting everybody like an Uber Eats kind of like card or something like that they can use on Fridays for their lunches. And we're just continuing to think of ways to keep us connected one way or the other. It's important. But yeah, I miss those. I mean, the massages definitely would be great getting them to come in and.
He took his executive chef, and now I think he's answering phones now. He still employed him, so I don't want to ask what you did with your massage therapist, but at the same time,
I commend him for keeping him employed. That's great. It's how you
great. I do want to ask you a question that came to mind while you were talking. So many people sit in different cities around the nation or even world, and they're impacted by the things that are being put down by law or by mandate in their local area. But not everybody's in California. In California and New York, those areas were probably the hardest hit with mandates and restrictions, especially early on. You have a floating vessel in the city that came in, a medical vessel and stuff. What are you seeing as a California company that maybe somebody sitting in Missouri or Oklahoma isn't seeing, that you've seen struggle or you've seen impact you from a California standpoint?
I mean, let's see. The things that we see as far as going grocery shopping where the lines are really extra long, right? I mean, I don't know if that's a standard everywhere, but you can't even get in now. You have to wait in line, and then they let people in a certain number of times. You can't go hiking anymore or running on the beach. They've closed those off completely. You can still be going around the streets, but actually, one of my friends, I'd heard that they had been with a group larger than 10 at some point going hiking, and they got like a $200 ticket.
Oh.
So they're really clamping down. Like, you cannot do anything with a group of people. What's really eerie is I got on the freeway the other day and it was empty. And if you've ever been to LA specifically from California, those freeways are packed. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is.
Of course I do.
But it was empty. I've never seen that before. So to me, that was just like really strange.
Surreal. Yeah, surreal.
Yeah. It'd be nice if it was like that on a regular basis, but.
So you're hoping this thing lasts longer? Is that what you're saying?
No, by no means.
I didn't think so. Okay, so I want to move a little bit further on to now that we've talked about the company and the people that work with your company and those closest to you. Let's move on to the business and the things that go on in your business. Obviously, one of the things that you and I talked about early on was the fact that a lot of your customers, because of, and why don't I back up for a second and talk about what does Convoso do, so that when I start talking about this, there's a connection between that?
Yeah, so we provide an omni-channel contact center software that helps you convert your leads faster. Essentially, any business that generates leads online or buys leads online, our dialer will help you convert those leads using various channels, texting, emailing, calling, because as we know now more than ever, it's more difficult to get the attention of the consumer, right? And it's finding ways to get them connected.
So obviously you fuel the back end of call centers, and of different sizes, obviously, and we know that call centers were one of the first things to be disrupted because of the close nature of what these people do, and the fact that people needed to be very proactive with what they were going to do with their call centers. And I remember you talking to me early on that the technology had to be a major component on the ability to scale external to the physical building that usually houses all that technology and output. So I can only imagine, with you being the backbone of that, it had to be immediately customers calling you and asking you, like, how do we do this? I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a mixed bag, right? Some call centers were already actually set up to work remotely. Others were not. And so the beauty about cloud-based technology is that everything is in the cloud, right? You do have call centers that are still using premise-based, so hardware-based systems that are in the actual physical location of the call center. In those instances, those are the ones that really have been impacted, because unless you have a system and solution in place that can work remotely in the cloud right away, you really were in a tight spot in terms of what you can do. And so for us, it was a combination. Some just have not been set up to work remotely in terms of their internal processes, because there's a lot going on when it comes to, even from an HR perspective. What happens if you log on and your internet doesn't work, or your computer is having a problem? Do you have to pay for that time? Do you not have to pay, right? Especially in call centers where, everything is on an hourly basis. And so what we saw the larger ones, of course, were able to an easier way to transition that over. But even then, I was amazed that some of these call centers that have 100, 200, 300 people in their call centers were able to transition everything over to a work from home model. And so part of that is having the right technology, right? Like the right dialer, the right computers, the right internet connection, but then also having good reporting in place. I think that's at the heart of these call centers. So if you have good reporting in place, you really can see how to hold your agents accountable, and you don't have to be watching over their shoulders or hearing them talk or anything like that. And so we saw a lot of them being able to transition. Some of them, of course, were not set up, and they had to unfortunately temporarily close, which is really sad. So over time, we're seeing some of them being able to get set up at home. So it's just a matter of, do you have your processes in place and the right technology? If you have those two, then it's with cloud-based technology, you can accomplish a work from home model.
Obviously from the council perspective, things that I worry about are privacy. And this Thursday, I just got off a call earlier with a couple of the attorneys and partners over at Squire Patton Boggs, and we'll have with Eric Troutman, as you know.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we were talking about was TCPA compliance and even privacy compliance. One of the things that I think that I hadn't even thought about was, when you have that remote access, what's the control like for a company that has exposure as it relates to privacy and data breaching and concerns of that nature when you're using cloud-based technology? I never even thought about that kind of thing. And maybe you're not able to talk about it or don't want to talk about it, but at the end of the day, I found that very fascinating when I hadn't even thought that that's a problem.
So, I mean, I don't think there's a black or white, solution in terms of something that can save you in all ways. There's going to be some level of exposure. The question is how much. There are several different things you should be doing. One, there should be, your system should allow you to have, first of all, through VPN access and IP restrictions, right? So not everybody can go and access the system. Like, you can't log in from anywhere. the computer you're using preferably should not be a personal computer. It should be a company provided, Chromebook, something like that. And then with the right technology, you should be able to customize who has access to what and what kind of data and how many people, right? So what we give you the ability to do with Convoso, you can customize and configure anything you can imagine at every level, from an agent to a manager to a supervisor. I mean, all the different levels in terms of the access they have to data, exporting data, importing, you name it. There's an access control list that you can limit what that access looks like. And that's really one of the best ways that you can control that access ultimately.
You know, one of the things that I think really stuck out like a sore thumb to me was, I think people, because they're so disrupted and this is just so foreign and alien to them, somehow people are getting into a lull or a mindset that, like, we're not responsible for certain things right now. Like, we're just trying to do business, so of course we're going to get a free pass, or, hey, look, they'll look past that failure or that non-compliant, opportunity that we took advantage of. And, the attorneys today told me that that's not going to be the case, that you are as responsible today for compliance and regulatory adherence, especially as it relates to privacy and TCPA, as you were 6 months ago. Nothing has changed just because we have this pandemic and unique situation going on. We're really still responsible for protecting the consumer.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the worst time that you can let loose. If your business is not already at the point where you really have to make sure to do things the right way to stay in business and get through this, the last thing you want to do is kind of cut corners and think nothing is going to happen to you, right? Like, in times like this, I feel like you should be even more careful and really figure out how to do things the right way. So I agree with you 100%. When it comes to compliance or anything like that, you got to continue doing things the right way if you want to not only stay in business but get out of this ahead and grow ultimately.
I mean, I think that this, when we go back to whatever the new normal is going to be, which I would imagine it's going to be modified from everything that we knew prior to this, I can only imagine that choosing the right partner, and I think that you need to think of every single vendor choice moving forward as a partnership, that when the shit does hit the fan, is that the person or company that I'm in bed with that I want to move forward through a next pandemic or crisis with? That's certainly important.
Very. You know how many times I've heard customers coming to us and saying, "Oh, I've spoke to X, Y, and Z competitor, and they don't really care that much about compliance," right? And to me, I'm really thinking, like, I don't understand how, as a business owner or as a company, you want to be responsible and do the right thing. And if you're enabling others to do the wrong thing, how do you expect to not only stay in business, but ensure that as a whole, there is growth for the industry? And so to me, we ultimately have one of the most, as far as responsibilities or impact that we can make, and ensuring and helping our customers stay successful and do things the right way. We have the ability to do that. And so for us, more so than ever, especially since joining the council, right, become more aware of everything that's going on and how we really have to be proactive around how to do things the right way. That's why we have webinars around kind of changes with the regulations coming on. We actually have one coming up in a couple of weeks with Michelle Schuster. And so for us, that's always very important, especially how things change all the time. I mean, you see it, right? You follow it all the time. I know you're a news junkie, and so
3 minutes every day to a fault.
Right.
Help me understand. I think we'll wrap up here in a few minutes, but help me understand, how does your customer support team interact today? Is it any different? Obviously, they had a phone in an office that they were doing, but they're talking to people who are now not in their call center. They're working remotely, working with people who are working remotely. And I can only imagine for your tech support or customer support people that's got to be a challenge. Is Juan the person heading that up, or how's that work right now?
No, so our tech support team,
Well, maybe not tech
The
support, the customer support. The customer
customer
support.
success. So customer
Yes.
success. Well, so
Yes.
customer success is in charge of, obviously onboarding and ongoing optimization and helping our customers to be successful. So they're dealing with those that are helping them, in a sense, transition to the work from home setup, which they're not doing all the setup work, but they're coordinating that. So they had been overloaded with a lot of requests, right, of getting that going. Thankfully, a lot of them have, point of contacts that we work with designated for that purpose, whether somebody's in charge of IT. So we work through one person that then works through everybody on their end. But then there are those that are experiencing technical issues in terms of their internet not working well or their computers not being compatible. So it's been definitely a little bit more overwhelming than usual, but over the weeks it's kind of calmed down as everybody is transitioning through that process of getting set up at home.
Are you trying to implement any new technologies or any new procedures based on that? What are you doing?
Well, yeah, so for our customers, one of the things that we did is one, you can send a broadcast text message if you wanted to really get someone's attention. If you got
TCPA compliant? Sorry about that. Had to throw that in. I just want to make sure you're not getting in trouble,
Hey, it's an important one,
Yeah, I know.
Getting that right express written consent without it.
Okay, just checkbox. That's all we care about.
Right. But no, that's something that we did. That there's a dashboard where you can see everybody, that's all of your agents in your call center are logged in, and you can broadcast a message to them. And then the other thing that we've been requested of is, because in the call center, especially when there's hundreds of agents in a call center, you do have a tendency to have a certain percentage of them who are goofing off. They're not getting on calls, or they're staying kind of in between that process of going from one call to the next. They're on idle time. So we built some things in there that like kicks them off after a certain amount of time automatically. So now they get notified, okay, hey, you're getting kicked out. And a lot of our customers use the reporting capabilities to pay them in terms of, for time tracking purposes. So if you're not logged on and you're not in there, that goes against your pay, I believe. And I'm not sure about all the details of that, but at the end of the day, it creates some accountability. And so when you have 100 to 200 agents in your call center and they're all working from home, there are things that are going to happen where you just cannot see what's happening, right? So having controls in place.
This is funny. It's almost like deja vu, because as I watch you post some of the content that I've been involved with before, I remember at Legion World earlier this year, we had a session on the stage and we talked, and we had no idea that what was coming ahead of us, but we talked about the efficiencies and the areas of call center management and reporting in particular, and some of the efficiencies that are absolutely now showing as mandatory to survive in this world. Had we only known a few months ago that we weren't only just suggesting, we were actually preaching to the audience of this is so critical to your call center.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think the biggest challenge we see with call centers is their reporting capabilities. It is such a nightmare. I want to say a lot of the call centers that come to us, they don't really know what to look at, or they don't have the capabilities to pull the data that they need to. They're trying to pull it from multiple different places. And there are a lot of systems out there that give it to you, but you'd be surprised how many of them are just kind of winging it. And this is the time when that will get exposed the most, right? Like not having your data and the reports and knowing what to look at, knowing the productivity of your agents, knowing, how many times did they get, are they logging in, logging out? Just overall the productivity, engaging that. If you don't have reporting in place, then you're not going to survive in this work from home model.
Yeah.
You'll be out of business in a matter of days. I mean, how this call centers, you really have to make decisions quickly, and otherwise you're losing tens of thousands of dollars.
Well, look, Nima, first of all, is there anything else that I've missed or not talked about that you want to make sure that we cover before we get off here? I mean, I have to be honest, we've had so many people, and I talked to you a little bit before we started this, on the stage and through these webinars, that are from such large organizations, and maybe the scale that they represent isn't isn't a one-to-one comparison to some of these smaller businesses that have real struggles that I don't believe at the enterprise level really match up. And so being able to bring somebody in that works with a lot of these companies that aren't necessarily enterprise, that have real struggles that have to be addressed immediately by people who don't have really any experience doing this, it just is amazing to me to know that you've been able to provide this solution. You've been there for these companies. You're still there for these companies. And you know, for me, I'm this is part of, you know, for me, this is part of who I connect with the most. And so it's been a pleasure to be able to hear you talk about what you've done for your company and the employees and the people who come to work for you every day, and the partners within your business. And then so outside of that, the companies that rely on you to provide, you know, a service that fuels the back end of their company. I love this type of conversation.
No, I appreciate it. Likewise, it's, you know, it's been an adjustment, I think, for everybody. For the smaller businesses, it's all about speed, even though speed matters for larger organizations as well. For smaller ones, you only have so much time before, you know, you run out of money, right? And so
the runway is so much
matters.
shorter, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, the only thing that didn't happen was one of those ear pods didn't fall in your ear. So I really hoping, God, I was hoping it didn't happen, but you kept pushing them back in.
You know, I'm a fan of the old ones, but the new ones are good too. I told you I have like pairs. I have to be pairs of them, right? I literally thought I've lost it a bunch of times, and every time I get another one, I find an old one. So now I have to be pairs.
Well, look, man, I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed that you kept them from popping out. But look, Nima, I love Convoso. I love going over there. I love talking to you. You truly are. I think if people watch this back and see it, there is a relationship there, as with many of the board members that we have. It's a close group. Love this community. Love what you do for us. Really appreciate it. How can people get a hold of Komboso right now? Like if they have a need, and they need action, they need some help, what can they do right now?
Yeah, you can go to either our website, it's convoso.com, convoso.com. You can also call us at 888-456-5454. And you know, we'll quickly get in touch with you, whether it's through, you know, a website or calling us. We're here to help. Even if you're having some challenges with whatever systems you currently have in place, we're always here to talk and see how we can help get you all through this.
Thank you, man. I can't thank you enough for taking the time, especially this late at night, and really appreciate it. Wish you all the luck. Be safe, stay safe. Enjoy that fresh air that none of those cars are putting pollution into. I saw some pictures today. It's beautiful.
That is the one benefit. I will. I'll get out there.
You have a zero emission car. I know that. So it's got to be great for you to be out there. So very cool. All right.
Too, Rob.
Nima, thank you very much for the time. I really appreciate it.
You too. All right. Take care.
All right. Yeah.
Bye.
So